Hello, my name is Mark Anthony Dubose Jr. I was born July 4th, 1986, and today I want to talk about something that I think is a very, very vital thing when it comes down to working with some dogs and why you just are struggling so much with the dogs inside of your household. Why you're running into situations where you're just like, what the heck is going on here? Why is my dog just not able to recover? Why is my dog always just fixated on what it is that's just like what you say is a trigger for it, that's always keeping it on edge and always just making it struggle? Why isn't it my dog just like finally just look away, just get off of that, stop worrying about that? And one thing that I'm going to say is I think that a lot of us are messing up with the concept of there's a whole side of this dog training stuff out here they are totally against what I'm going to talk about right now, and that is putting the dog through stress. Stress is not a bad thing. Stress is not something that we should look at as a negative. Stress is something to show us what it is that we need to work on. Show us what it is that we need to continue to keep on growing to be able to push ourselves, to be able to get into a better place. And not just only ourselves, but this is a universal law out here on this planet. Everything that lives, everything that's alive, everything that breathes, everything that's growing is going through stress. And the stress is what's making it be able to become a better and a more resilient thing to be able to survive on this planet. And the dogs 100% need to have to go through stress so that they can know how to deal with the stress. We cannot always, this is a huge thing that I don't know, a lot of us seen this with human beings. When the parents that are just doing everything for the kid, I mean, the kid doesn't have to do nothing. The kid is living the stress-free life and everything is good to go. And then finally when that kid has to go out on its own and do what it has to do, what happens to that kid? It fumbles, it folds, it just goes way downhill. We hear this story over and over and over again of how the kid that had it all and now he's addicted to something and passed away from some sort of substance abuse problem. And the main reason that happens is because they do not know how to deal with the stresses that come to them. When a stressor happens, you just, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, and you just have this rage blow up, just insane course of actions that you start taking. And the dogs do the exact same thing. When we do not put them through the stressors that are stressing them, they just have this absolute mass level of blow up with them. And that's what everyone's seeing with their dogs, right? You're seeing the dog that's just going crazy. You're seeing the dog that if the other dog is going crazy and your dog is fine with, as long as the other one's not all right, you're seeing this mass blow up. Because you're not pushing your dog through that stress. You're running away from that stress. You're allowing your dog to think that, hey, that over there, I'm gonna guide you through it every single time. As opposed to just putting the dog in the thick of it and just saying, you gotta deal with this, man. You gotta deal with this. And that's where you're gonna get faster and faster and faster recovery. Faster that the dog gets into this, oh my goodness, it's crazy. Faster it's gonna go back into, oh, everything is okay. It was all right. I don't need to prolong onto this. I don't know how many dogs I walk past that the dogs don't let it go. Like, they're still, yesterday on one of my runs, the dog was still, I could still hear the dog barking with this excessive amount of energy. A half mile I'm gone already. This is 3 to 4 minutes later. The dog is still in this absolute high level of just crazy rageness because it doesn't know how to regulate what its stress levels are. It regulate itself through a stressful situation. It just goes absolutely wild. And that's what's going on with a lot of dogs inside of the household. Your dog is barking, and they're barking for an hour, 2, 3, 4. My goodness, they just don't stop barking. They saw a guy riding by on his bicycle a little bit earlier, and then all of a sudden the dog just can't let it go. He's still barking 15 straight, steady, solid minutes later because he doesn't know how to deal with that stress because we've never allowed him or forced him or took him through the situation of making him just have to deal with it. We can't run away from it. We can't just see the dog barking and think, how do I, myself, get the dog to stop barking right now? How do I distract the dog from this? As opposed to just allowing them to just bark it through. Bark it through, and then they're gonna get through that stress without us having to constantly keep doing stuff. Again, if your dog is barking in the house for 15, 20, 30, 40, an hour, it's because you're telling it to do that. You're saying, no, stop, don't do that, all done, quit, quiet, finish. All that language that you're putting out there is saying to the dog to keep doing it. But, or get down. But when you run into that situation that you are guiding your dog to let them be able to get it all out, without you having to try to tell them to do something, but staying completely neutral, the dog is going to get through the stress. The dog is going to get past it and realize that it's going to get faster and faster and faster for that dog to be able to get out of that. But we can't run away from the stress. If your dog is reactive towards other dogs, you cannot try to give the dog a treat, give the dog a toy, run away from it, try to put your dog in a sit, I've seen crazy stuff. Try to cover your dog's eyes, try to do whatever you can to try to make your dog not get into that situation. You're doing everything you can to try to get the dog to not be in stress, but yet at the end of the day, it's going to be in even more stress because the dog is not going to understand how to deal with those emotions that go on inside of them. These dogs feel. They understand good, they know bad, they understand what's going on with them. They have emotions inside of them. And the more that we try to hide it and act like they don't, and act like they're stuffed animals and not realize that they're alive, living creation beings, then we're gonna keep on failing them over and over again. The dogs absolutely have to be put through stress. If your dog is scared of something that I spoke about before, of walking under bridges with the cars going, it's loud, it's weird, it's strange, it's echoey, it's a lot going on. That challenges a lot of dogs in reality. And if you just are, I'm not gonna do that anymore because my dog is nervous, as opposed to just saying, we're going through this, we're doing this, we're making this happen. That's the only way you're gonna get your dog into a better place, because it's gonna build that stress level. Then it's gonna realize and look around like, oh, everything is actually all right, everything is okay. And your dog is gonna be able to get into become in a better place. But the more that you run away and the more that you hide, the more that you don't take your dogs out anymore because you're worried about, oh my goodness of this, oh my goodness of that, the more that you're destroying your dog day after day after day. And that's something that is just absolutely gonna be an aggravating thing for you with your dog inside of your home. Because now not only are you not allowing your dog to be able to go through stressful things to be able to get past it, you are now trying to supplement something to try to like, oh no, look at this cookie to try to get him to get out of that stress. So then when a stressful situation actually does come, the dog is gonna go savage, just absolute beast mode, because it doesn't know how to deal. It doesn't know what's going on. I watch the dogs, it's always a progression. The dog rarely, just instantly up front, day one, you got you a puppy that just goes out there and is just barking and screaming at the whole world. That just doesn't happen. It's a progression that gets going and gets going and gets going. Because the stress level of the dog is, when you see this dog start to get stressed, you're like, oh, look at this, as opposed to just look at it, man. Look at it. Look at it. That dog's barking in your face, look at it, stare at it. Something that I do with my dogs is, you want to figure out how to be able to get your dogs to stop reacting when other dogs are reacting at your dog, set yourself up scenarios that the dogs are going to do that, and they just stand there. Stand there. That dog is going to bark and bark and bark and bark, and you're just going to stand there. I mean, it's easy to do that, these drills, because you can go to any trailhead at any park or anywhere like that, and you're going to have every single person with their dog get out of their car, enter onto this trailhead. You just stand there. In 10, 15 minutes, you're going to realize your dog is just not going to be barking and reacting anymore. And like, again, a lot of this training stuff is so simple, and it's not, you shouldn't feel embarrassed in any way, because majority of every single person's dog out here is barking like crazy at the leash anyways. So if your dog is doing what their dog is doing, whatever, stop thinking like, oh, my dog this, oh, my dog that. No, guide your dog through it. Help your dog get past it. Help push your dog into the thick of it so that they can be able to get to become a better dog. Is this going to happen instantly, overnight, in one training session? Some dogs, yes. Heck yeah. Some dogs in 2 minutes. You got a dog barking at them, you got your dog barking, because what happens 100% of the time, your dog stops barking, and then it on its own looks at you without you trying to like do something. It just stops and it looks right at you. And you're just going to look at it like, yeah, man, everything's good. Everything's fine. You're completely neutral. And a dog is going to see that dog. He's going to look back at him like, and that dog's still going to be barking. And you're going to look back at it and he's going to say, and look at you. Oh, everything's okay. Yes, everything's fine. But when you're trying to put treats in and you're trying to even pull on the leash in that moment, you're trying to put a toy, you're trying to put hands on the dog, you're trying to cover its eyes, you're trying to pull them away, you're trying to get space and run away from it, your dog is going to see all that as like, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what's happening. And then your dog is only going to continue to keep on getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Like I said, this dog reactivity doesn't happen overnight. And it just doesn't happen from an 8-week-old puppy that goes out there and it's just barking at the whole world. It just doesn't happen that way. It happens day after day, week after week, month after month. And a lot of the dogs that are in the shelter, they all have this issue. Why? For one, the shelters are stressful, so they're barking at the dogs that are going crazy in there. So they already have barrier frustration from the kennels that they're behind in there all the time. So they get on a leash and they just start to get leash frustration, and then it's just a progression. But the main thing is to get the dog to get out of that is so simple. It's so simple as being very neutral and pushing the dog through that stress. The dog is stressed about walking in your neighborhood because the dog's on the other side of the fence or barking and going crazy. Don't walk on the other side of the street. Don't get in you of, oh my goodness, I don't know what's going on here. Put your dog through that stressful moment of realizing it's going to have to just go, it's going to have to do it. It's going to have to do it. It's going to have to do it. There's no rewards here. There's no praise here. There's no special woohoos here. It's just life, man. Life is stressful, and the more that we just push through the stress, the better and better we're going to be able to get. The more that we run away from it. That's why one thing that I can say is for us as human beings and what we're all about. Stress comes to us because we're not doing what it is that we know that we need to do. We know that we have to get something done, so the stress starts to pile on. We know we have to get up and be able to give a speech. The stress starts to pile on, and then the anxiousness starts to come on. Then the frustration comes because you didn't get done what you said that you wanted to get done because of that stress. But once you just fight through that fear. You just go at it head on. And then you look back like, man, what? That wasn't that bad. That wasn't that bad. That wasn't such a horrible situation. That actually felt good. That was actually really comforting to realize. I thought I was gonna hurt, die, stumble, fumble, but actually things are much better now. Things are much smoother now. And that is the exact same thing that happens with our dogs. When we just see that they get into this I don't knows and I'm in scares and their tail starts to tuck, you're like, oh, I gotta get out of this. I gotta get away from this. The dog is begging for you. Help me through this. Help me, guide me, get me past these fears. Because I'm in a fear right now that I don't know and I'm unsure. And once we get them past those fears, this is why the sport of agility is amazing. But the sport of agility is complicated because we need to branch off and have two different styles here. We need to have a style that's all about relationship and confidence building and a style that's sport that it is right now. And a lot of times we get into the sports stuff. And these people are competitive, man. And we as human beings, what do we do as competitive human beings? We like, my dog's the best, mine's this. And then you start working the dog to the point that it's no longer fun. It's no longer confidence building. It's actually starting to destroy the dogs. Not for everybody. But most dogs run into that scenario because you want it to do something so badly. And the dog is like, I'm not an athlete, man. I'm a pet, I hang out. But it's an amazing thing to get the dog to do all these little obstacles to be able to see that the dog is scared. The dog's gonna be terrified. And you push them through. I've seen many of dogs just go up the dog walk. This thing is tall, man. It's as tall as me. It's over 6 feet tall. I think it's actually 6'6" tall. It's tall, man. They're going up it. They're freaking out. They're scared. They're like, oh my goodness, what's that? And it's narrow, man. It's so narrow. It's tight. The dog is walking like, oh my goodness. And I watched the dog get that last step at the end. And they just go into rage zoomies. They're like, oh crap, this is the best thing. And then they just run straight back to their owner. Like, man, that was the best, man. You're able to get them through that fear. Then the dog's like, man, you got me through that. What else can you help me get through? And they start begging us to be able to help them and guide them to be able to get through the issues that they have. But when we're running away from it, it's just the simple concept of how I see it is we ourselves are running away from it. We ourselves are running away from what we're scared of. We ourselves are running away from the things that are stressing us out. You know, you at work right now and you like, oh my goodness, I want to raise, but you never actually stood up and asked anybody. You got that stress on you that things aren't lining up right for you, that I need a little bit more, but you don't actually like do the step to actually make something happen about it. And you'd be very, very shocked and very surprised that majority of people will say yes to you if you just stand up and speak and say something. That's the majority of this world. When you just say it and you just represent who you all about and just get out there and make it happen and do it and just go head first into it, you're gonna be very, very shocked and surprised at the answers and the feedback that you get. You may get some pushback of I don't knows and I'm unsure, but that pushback doesn't, especially if they never just flat out said no, that don't mean no. That just means we got some things that still keep on pushing out there that's just getting you past what it is you need to work on with yourself. And these dogs are begging for us to get them past their stressors. And we can't just see the dog stressed and say, oh, I don't want my dog to be in that state. That is destroying your dog. Your dogs are begging you to get them out of their fears. And that's why they're barking all day in the house. That's why they're barking all day on the leash. That's why they're afraid to go into certain areas and certain situations. Because they're scared and they're nervous and they have this stress behind them that is just keeping them in this absolute high level of just franticness. And then it starts to display as absolute frustration. That frustration starts to display as an absolute high, extreme level of rage. And that's what, unfortunately, the majority of people have with their dogs. And they're in rage. They're no longer just excited, I just want to have fun. No, they're at the point where I'm pissed off. I'm mad. I'm irritated as all hell can be right now. I'm so frustrated and so mad right now that I just want to go and do that. I want to make it happen. And that's when dangerous stuff starts to happen. That's why the face that I see on majority of y'all with your dogs is dead on. You should be scared. But at the same time, if you're scared and you're out in public and there's kids and there's bikes and why does this animal here right now? If you're scared of what it may do, that's the part that really kind of confuses me at the end of the day in reality. You're confused about it. You're scared of what they may do, but you don't help guide them to get them through those fears and insecurities that they have. That's where there's just a huge disconnect going on here, a huge disconnect. Stop thinking that if your dog is stressed with what it is that you're doing, that's a bad thing. Now, if you're just sitting in the house and just beating your dog and yelling at your dog and just abusing your dog in a way like that, you don't be doing that. But if your dog is scared of, I don't know about that dog and I'm a little nervous, you need to approach that situation instead of running away from it. You need to approach that situation head on and not think that I'm going to try to manipulate them or treat them or give them treats or give them toys or do this other trickery or try to do this, or I'm going to convince my dog of being in a perfect heel, so if he's not in that heel, I can correct him if he tries to get out of that. But instead, just allow the dog to be able to freely live and experience and be. Realize that dogs are dogs, people. You wouldn't even treat your own self the way that a lot of people out here trying to treat their dogs. That's something that we should think more and more about. That you're putting extreme high expectations on your dogs, and you don't do that with yourself. You don't stand up for yourself, but you expect your dog to. You don't do the near amount of training that you want to say you put onto your dog that you put onto your own self. And then that's just some mismatched stuff that's always constantly going on here. And the main thing is something that we just have to focus on more of is realizing that fear and stress and anxiety, all that stuff isn't bad. There's a whole half of the world that looks at it that way, but there's another whole half of the world that, for me today, the way that I look at the world, the way that I understand the world, is stress means greatness is over there. I'm going head into that stress. I'm running straight towards that stress. I'm not running away from it. The more I keep running away from it, the more that the other stuff is going to start to build up, such as the depressions and the anxiety and the lostness and it's all that negative style stuff. But when I go straight into that stress, I'm like, man, on the other side of that, watch what I'm about to become. Watch what I'm about to be able to do. That's why my dogs do not bark and do not react at a dog that's barking savagely in their face, because I make them deal with that stress. It's stressful, man. It's tough. You got a dog on the other side of the fence that's just going crazy and barking at your dog, and you expect your dog not to respond. That is an extreme amount of pressure that you're putting upon the dogs. But the dogs need to go through that. They need to handle that. They need to experience that, because that's just what's going on in this world out here. That's our life out here. What y'all scared about right now? Hey, every day the chickens doing some different stuff. I'm telling y'all, if you ain't been around a whole bunch of them, there's something super fascinating about all these animals. It's just a very, very interesting thing out here. But Oreo, you can go ahead and quieten them up. Oreo, go down there. Go. Yep. You can go. Oreo. Yes. No. Yes. He should calm down. He's not on his right mission right now. But the main thing is we have a lot of stress out here going on. We have a lot of issues going on out here that the dogs are just going absolutely crazy. The dogs are just going absolutely maddening. Come here, get down. The dogs are just going absolutely mad. And they're going mad in a way because we're trying to think that we can get them past their fears without allowing them to deal with the things that are stressing them. Thinking that they're just going to get into a position and into a place. All right, you can push these ones out. Get into a position and get into a place that, push them out. Get into a place that they're gonna be comfortable, calm, and safe without having to deal with the things that are stressing them. That's something that is, again, a very, very backwards thing that's going on this planet today when it comes down to not only working with some simple dogs, but us as human beings. That we think that we need to live in this utopia of everything is perfect, everything is great. Johnny, you can push him out too. Johnny, you can go get him. You can get up. Go get him. Okay, sorry, you only on okay. Go push these guys out of here, guys. There you go. We live in this utopia that nothing bad can happen, everything needs to be perfect, and everything needs to be good, and everything needs to be great. And that's just not reality. The reality is, it sucks out here. It's hard out here. We're struggling out here. Everything can be challenging out here. Everything is beating us and breaking us and trying to destroy us down out here. The simple fact of the gravity that's always put, the weight of the world is on us, literally. It's forcing us down. It's demanding that we stay down. And for us to have to get up, we have to go through the problems. We have to deal with the stress. We have to deal with the complications. We have to just keep on pushing through that. And the only way that you're going to be able to get into that, say, more calm place is doing that. Is by having the resilience of being resistant to understanding that when the stress happens and you get into this I don't knows and I'm unsures, that you're able to get through it each time, as opposed to just lingering in it and staying in it all the time. You get into that stressful moment and then you just, I'm fine now, I'm fine. You recover in seconds, instead of it taking days and weeks and months and years and decades for some people. And some people never, your whole life, you never get out of fear because you never went head on with the stress. And that's what's going on, the same thing with these dogs. We're not putting them through the things that they're stressed about. And we're thinking that, oh, if I shield them from that, then they'll be better. I'm telling you, that you're not gonna get any results with that, is what I'll say. You're not gonna get any results. If you want results, then you have to do some things that maybe you, your own self, don't feel comfortable with. And that's one thing that I'm gonna say is what challenges a lot of us. That, again, you put expectations on your dog that you don't on your own self. When you start to treat yourself the same way that you try to treat your dog, watch how your relationship is just going to get much, much better. Thank you.